This video is going to attempt to show you how to use a prompt to create a PowerPoint presentation using Visual Basic coding for Microsoft. You don't have to know how to use Visual Basic to complete this because ChatGPT will hopefully help us through the process. A lot of time was dedicated to writing this prompt, and although I may submit this prompt and it works this time, it may not work the next time and may take tweaking and having that conversation with ChatGPT. The more information you can provide ChatGPT about the context you're in, the better the content's going to be to fill your need. You have to be very specific on how many slides you want. Also, where to access that information, which ChatGPT has a large resource that it can pull from. And you can obviously interchange your role as a faculty member or a staff member somewhere along with the topic that you want to present. You can even say the topic with an emphasis on. So if I was doing Vygotsky's zone of proximal development in a different class in a very specific topic, I could ask it to do that as well. Okay, so now that we've got the prompt written in, I'm going to click on send. And note I am using ChatGPT 4. 3.5 may work. So as it is actually writing out this code, I have run into several times with ChatGPT that the code is not consistent. And so I may get an error message, and we'll talk about that in a second. If I do receive an error message, I just tell ChatGPT what my error was, and then I ask ChatGPT to fix it and rewrite it. Another issue I've run into is ChatGPT might get lazy. So instead of doing all 8 slides, it may do slides 1 through 3 and then say continue this pattern for the rest of the slides. But that kind of defeats the purpose of what I want. I want a framework to work from for 8 slides and not have to deal with a VBA code or Visual Basic code at all. As you can see here, it did exactly what I have seen in the past. It will say continue with the remaining slides in a similar fashion, and then it gave me a conclusion slide. Since ChatGPT did not include all 8 slides, I'm going to talk to it like I would an assistant, and that I am uncomfortable with Visual Basic coding. Could you please include detailed bullets and information for all 8 slides so that I may copy and paste the code directly into the Visual Basic editor. Then, now that I've clarified it, you'll see that ChatGPT has written code for slides 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's going to tell me to do copy the code in the PowerPoint VB editor, and I'm going to walk you through that process now. There are probably several ways to access the macro editor within PowerPoint, and don't let this terminology make you think you can't do this if it's foreign terminology, because once you get the steps down, it's pretty easy. My favorite way to access the macros in the Visual Basic editor is to press Alt and then F11 on my keyboard. Now, if you use Alt F11 while Microsoft Word is open, it will throw things off. So make sure you're in your PowerPoint screen before you do that. With this screen open, you're in the Visual Basic for Applications. Click on the project name. Go to your code. Click on Copy Code. Go back to your editor. Make sure the name is selected. Go to Insert, Module, and then paste that code. Go to File, Save Presentation. Click on PowerPoint Macro Enable Presentation. If you do not do this, it's not going to work. Another step that I didn't show you how to do is to make sure that PowerPoint has allowed for macros. So I'm going to name this ZPD for Zones of Proximal Development. Click on Save. Now, you don't see anything happen. You see the wheel spinning a bit, but it's made it a macro-enabled presentation. Now that I've got my code in place, I'm going to click on Run. And as expected, sometimes I get an error message, and that is because of the inconsistency of now for ChatGPT to provide the proper code each time. If you see this, you want to key this code directly into ChatGPT and let it know you found an error. So you'll see that I keyed in "thank you, however I received the error code in the Visual Basic for Application Editor. The error states runtime error, object doesn't support this property or method." Giving that information to ChatGPT, it apologizes because it is also polite, and then it attempts to correct this code. So I took the updated code from ChatGPT, I copied and pasted it the same way here. Just going to make sure I've saved my changes, and then I'm going to click Run. You'll notice the PowerPoint presentation opens, and now each slide has its bullets. You'll also notice that in the Notes pane, it provides a script for me to review, but more importantly, if a student needed the handouts later, you can share it with them or whoever's not in attendance. It did bring over some extra bullets, and so if you know how to work within PowerPoint, there's a really easy way of doing that in the Slide Master, and you can remove all the bullets. Now, the other part that I like about using Microsoft for this is using the Designer tab. Microsoft Designer tab reads the information on the slide and attempts to find pictures that match it. And so if I go to Social Learning, you're going to see images that have that in there. Content, scaffolding, you'll see pictures of scaffolds in there. And so that's what's really cool about the integration of using a large language model like ChatGPT or Bard to incorporate and build your PowerPoint presentation, and then using the designer view, which is also using AI to read the context and bring in images that you can use. This gives you a perfect framework to work from. You'll obviously need to edit and make some revisions to this, but if you're having a hard time getting started on a presentation, this is an excellent way to get ChatGPT to do the work for you. The first few times you attempt this, you may run into some roadblocks, so just continue to have that conversation as you would with an assistant or intern in creating a presentation for you. Within a few minutes, you can create the foundation for a great presentation.